Hi guys, welcome again, and we are for another lesson in object-oriented programming. So for lesson 2, we will be focusing on data types, expressions, input and output statements. But before we actually go ahead and do that, I'd like to have like a couple of review regarding the first lesson that we discussed so far. So we were able to understand the importance of Java. Also, we were able to explain why Java is a very popular language up to date. And then we also discussed the advantage of Java to other programming languages and understand how Java virtual machine works. And of course, I hope that you were able to that I was able to walk you through with the given video I posted on our um, online LMS, and also the video I shared on my YouTube channel, because it's about installing the NetBeans IDE. So for those who will be using laptops or personal computers. Now, of course, as I have mentioned before on our discussion, I am not going to limit you to any type of software. I am just going to suggest what are the things that you can use for um, programming Java. So it's up to you what's the comfortable software that you want to use for programming. So far, since we started with installing NetBeans IDE, later on we will be discussing how to actually use it. Because ayaw naman natin na masayang lang, no? At least we experience how to use NetBeans for you to like have a better understanding on the environment on how to use it. So actually kasi sa mga big projects is ganda ng gamitin ng ating NetBeans. So for small projects and for those who are just starting on Java programming, I think online compilers and mobile applications will do for you guys. Now, going back to our topic for today, or yeah, topics that we will be covered today are as follows. Well, that's data types, expressions, and input and output statements. So let us start with understanding the lesson objectives that we will cover for the rest of this lesson. Okay, at the end of the lesson, we should be able to learn the basic structure of Java application, learn how to declare and initialize variables. We need also to learn the different types of operators, learn what is type conversion and typecasting, and learn how to use comments, strings, and boolean. So those are our lesson objectives. Okay, now we will be moving forward to the next few slides. This is all about a basic Java application. So let's talk about how to use basic Java application. So in basic application, of course, whenever we wanted to start a project, we actually create an application for that project. Now, I need you guys to follow me on the on-screen instructions that I'm gonna show you. I will not be using the live software anymore. I already pasted the screens to make you to make you familiar. Sorry about that. To make you familiar on the environment setup of NetBeans. So far, it's just the same for almost NetBeans IDE, except that if you installed the newest version, there might be a slight changes to it. However, it's very minimal, and I really do think that it's not that hard to use the latest one. However, with I have included here is not the Apache NetBeans. It's the, I think, if I remember it correctly, it's the 8th version. No, so for example, we are to create our first Java application. So let's follow the steps. So I added the steps here so that you can actually follow it at home even though without me teaching it to you live. So far, our first step is of course to open the NetBeans IDE. And then once it's opened, what you're gonna see is this screen. Okay? Hold on, yeah. So once you were able to land on the home screen of NetBeans, all you need to do is to click File and then select New Project. Alright, so why do we do that? It's like just simply creating, what do you call this? A folder where you are going to save all of your files. No, for example, kasi in a project, there can be a couple of files that may include the different interface of your program. So the next step that we are going to do is to choose the choose the Java application that you're going to do. Now in this case, since we are just starting to use Java application, you will select from the project's Java applications and then click on the next button for you to be taken into this screen or dialog box. So you will see the new Java application dialog box, and it includes the following. So you will be asked to save your project name and then select the project location and folder, and if you're going to use dedicated for folder for sharing or storing libraries. Now on this part, it's very crucial that you understand where you save your project folder. Because normally, for first-time users, dito sila nagkakaroon ng problem. So, they just click on next, next, and then finish. Then, after that, they code for a couple of minutes or hours. And then, after closing the application, nakalimutan na kung saan ba sinave yung folder na yon. So, I'm saying this based on experience in teaching Java, and perhaps, probably, I may have experienced this during the first time I used NetBeans. No, so just to make sure that you are fully aware where you are saving your project. So if you are okay with the default settings that you have on your computer, because NetBeans will assign default folder. Usually it's on the documents or desktop with a folder named Java. So if not, you can select browse and feel free to save it on any location where you want to save it to. It can be on the main computer of, the main memory of your computer, or it can be a secondary storage. It's up to you as long as you know where you saved it so that you can easily find it later on if you're going to edit something on your project or submit it to your professor. So on this example, it says here that the project has been saved as console. Now, it is very important that we follow some naming conventions. What do we mean by that? Meron po tayong mga rules na sinusunod kapag tayo ay mag-create ng pangalan ng project natin. So, para hindi na maepektuhan yung main program natin. So, as much as possible, use a combination of letters and numbers, but you have to start with the letter first. So, apart from that, if you have like multiple words as your project name, make it one word only. You cannot include special characters, spaces, but if you do want to divide like multiple words as the name of your project name, you can place an underscore in between words. So that's still gonna be considered as one word. And then just leave the create main class as it is. So, kailangan naka-check po ito. Huwag nyo na pong tatanggalin yung pagka-uncheck niya. Okay? So, yun na po. So, just like on our example, you can actually follow the same example that I'm showing you on your own. So, mamaya pwede naman kayong gumawa ng sarili nyo ng program once you are done and familiar with how NetBeans is being used. Okay, so after you name your project, select the folder where you want to save it, and then the project folders usually may default value na rin to, hindi nyo na kailangang baguhin, so leave it as it is as a beginner, and then make sure this is checked, and then you click on the finish button. So yun po yan ang finish button natin. So the next thing that you should see is your console project editor. Okay, I'm just gonna zoom it in. Okay, oops, sorry. Alright. So in this part of our NetBeans, you should be able to see your console project editor. Ibig sabihin, ito na po yung pinaka-name ng ating project. On the left side, you can see the projects tab, and then in here, you see the console. This is the name of the project that you created. And then from there, you actually created a Java class already. So sorry, and the same, the project name that you use is gonna be the same name of your class. So that's actually console.java. If you take a look on the editor pad, no, yung pinaka, hold on. If you take a look on this, meron ng mga ilang programs or set of codes na automatic ginagawa na ni Java for us. So, yun ang kagandahan doon. Now, before we actually proceed with different keywords that you are seeing on the screen right now, I am gonna explain first the entirety of the screen that we are seeing here. If you can see, this area, the red box indicates your project name, of course, and its corresponding code and libraries. And then on the green box, okay, this is what we call, this is the current code that you have on your console.java. So this is where you do your development. Dito natin ilalagay yung mga codes natin na kinakailangan to make a program. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to do is to modify the code by adding, modify the code in green by adding the code in red box. So what do we mean by that? Ito po yung green box natin kanina, no? So dito, sabi ko kanina, dito natin nilalagay yung codes na kailangan to make a program. Now this right here, we actually have red boxes. So, ito daw pong part na to, dito natin ilalagay yung mga additional codes na kailangan po natin para makapag-create ng program. Now, since meron tayong mga default codes that are included here, like import, java.util.asterisk, semicolon, public class, console, and then we have actually comments here. Later on, pupunta tayo sa comments na tinatawag. Magkaroon pa tayo ng discussion for that. And then, public static void main string, etc., etc. So, before we actually go ahead and add our codes here, I'm going to explain this reserved words to you. Pag sinabing reserved words, those words are actually being used by a specific programming language only. Meaning, these words actually have some meaning to the language itself. Hindi siya basta-basta pwedeng gamitin as a variable, at magkakaroon pa din tayo ng discussion about that, so on and so forth. Okay. So, let's move forward to the different keywords descriptions in Java. Okay, so as I have mentioned a while ago, no, meron akong mga ilang terminologies na binanggit sa inyo. So, doon na tayo mag-start, no, sa ilang mga terminologies na present na kanina doon sa ating examples. Okay, the first terminology is the package. So, package used to group related classes. Well, think of it as a folder in a file directory. So, parang ano siya, diba, kung mag-create tayo ng analogy for that, I want you to think filing cabinet. So, siguro naman po nakakita na tayo ng filing cabinet, no? So, that filing cabinet has different folders inside. Now, those folders, this filing cabinet rather, we actually use as a package. Parang meron siyang nilalaman ng mga functionalities na nandoon sa loob ng package. Now, these packages, we use these packages to avoid name conflicts and also to write a better maintainable code. Okay, so the next keyword is the import. Okay, meron ba tayong ini-import? Yeah, from the word itself, it is being used to import built-in and user-defined packages into your Java source file so that your class can refer to a class that is in another package by directly using its name. So, to make an analogy for that, kasi parang siguro kung bago pa lang kayo magpo-program, it really doesn't make sense, ma'am. Hindi din po namin naintindihan kung ano ba yung meaning nun. Let's make an analogy, for better understanding. So, ano bang maganda na maging analogy natin dito? Okay, for example, meron kang isang manufacturing company. Then you need someone to handle the raw materials. You need someone to assemble the raw materials. You need someone to pack your products. So ibig sabihin, lalagyan na siya ng packaging and all. And then you need someone to sell that product. Now, if I am the only one working in a company, I cannot really do all of those in a quick way, Kung gusto kong maging madali yung production ko, mas madali ko siyang maibenta on the market, I need people to actually do those things together with me. So, for example, I will be the one in charge of handling the raw materials. There will be someone going to use to assemble the materials. Now, I need to import people to help me out. Then they have their own functionalities according to their job description. Yun yung ginagawa nila. So the word import is actually has the same meaning to it in Java. Parang you are trying to import something from the library that you wanna use to your code para naman mas madali mong magawa yung function na gusto mo na meron ka sa iyong program. So that's import. Now, after the import, meron pa yung kasunod, I want to go back to the code. If we are gonna zoom it in, nakalagay dito, import java.util. The util is actually a short keyword that means utility. Meron tayong parang utility class in Java na pwede natin gamitin to actually make a better code for our Java. So, mamaya punta tayo doon kasi napakaraming package na pwede nating magamit. Okay, antindihin muna natin yung mga keywords na dapat nating malaman. Now, the word console Java, that's actually the name of your source file. Okay, so katulad nga ng nasabi ko kanina, kung ano yung pangalan ng package mo, usually that's the name of your source file as well. So make sure to be careful on creating your package name or folder name rather. So we have seen this symbols, yung forward slash and the asterisk and the forward slash somewhere here. Okay, ito na po siya. I'll show you this one. Ito, So these are actually comments. Now, what do we mean by comments? Syempre from the word itself, you're making some comments on your code. Okay, now this is actually a multiple line comments. These comments, the content inside between the forward slash asterisk and the characters inside this are all comments. They are considered comments. What do we mean by that again? Well, comments are actually ignored by your compiler. What do we mean by it? Hindi siya nagkakaroon ng bearing sa output ng program mo. So comments are actually being used for the programmers to add something on the code, maybe before the program or within the line of that code to explain further what do they meant on that line of codes. So, dito, ginagawa natin or nilalagyan po natin ng comments yung ating program for better understanding of other people. So, why do we need to do that? Now, for example, you wanted to create a project and there is someone that's going to help you out with the project as well. So, you may be using different shortcut names for your variables, and you want to make sure that the other team that's with you on making the project do actually understand what you're trying to do on that specific line. So it adds more understanding to other people. Second, it's sort of like a documentation to with what you are doing on your codes. That's very important in programming. Hindi lang tayo basta nag-create ng codes. Parang we also add documentation to make sure na ang atin pong mambabasa ay naiintindihan kung ano yung codes na yon. So, this is actually very important. Kahit nasabihin natin na hindi po siya, wala po siyang bearing or wala namang gagawin ng compiler mo doon kasi ignore lang yan. It's important to your co-programmers and of course to other people who don't really understand programming like we do. Okay, so yun naman pong next natin na keyword is the class console. Now for the class console, magkaiba po yun sa console.java ha. Yung console.java, yun po yung name ng source file nyo, yung pinaka-file nyo, meaning, ayun po yung pangalan. Yun namang class console, technically, yung console na word is gonna be auto-generated by NetBeans. From where? Again, from your source file name. So, tatlo na siya, no, na magkakapangalan. Yung project name mo, console, yung source file mo, console din, and then by default, your class is going to be console as well. Ano naman pong ibig sabihin ng class word dito? Okay, so for the class console, the keyword class declares that a new class is being defined and console is the name of that class. So, simple lang. Ibig sabihin, ito yung pangalan ng class mo. Now, it's very important that we understand what do we meant by class. Class is also like an object. An object that's going to like create an event based on what your program is all about. So, medyo pag-uusapan pa rin naman natin yun, no? Hindi pa dito nagtatapos yung discussion natin sa class. Forward tayo muna sa ilan pang mga keywords and what do you call this? Symbols na nakikita natin dun sa example natin kanina. So, right now, we have seen the curly braces. So, the curly braces indicates the entire class definition, including all its members and whatever will be between opening, this is the opening, and the closing curly brace. Okay? So, the next things that we are gonna discuss are the words public and others. Okay, so again, ito po ay pahapyaw lang. Magkakaroon pa tayo ng bukod na discussion tungkol dito. Now, public is a keyword in access specifier and modifier which allows the main methods to be accessed by the code outside the class. So, ibig sabihin, you are actually saying that your class can be accessed publicly by anyone outside the class that you have. Okay, again, nagkaroon po tayo ng illustration dito para mas maintindihan po natin. So, let's move forward with the static keyword. This keyword allows the main program to be called without having to create a particular instance of the class. So again, kakaroon pa tayo ng additional discussion about the different access modifiers and specifiers. Okay, so meron din tayong nakita na void. When we say void, this is the keyword that tells the compiler that the main class does not return a value. Now, I guess this is not like a jargon term kasi ginagamit din naman yung void in any in like normal terms, I guess. So from the word itself, you are like saying that your main class doesn't return anything at all or any value, kaya siya void, walang laman. Okay, in Tagalog, wala siyang laman. That's why it's not gonna return a value. Yeah, so parang to make an analogy, if you have a coin purse, no, yung coin purse natin is actually a container. Pwede nating sabihin na yung coin purse natin is a class. It holds something inside. Meron siyang mga nilalaman. However, kung meron tong nilalaman, pwedeng cards, pwedeng ID, pwedeng money. Okay. If you are going to compare it with the void term, ang ating wallet ay may nilalaman ng mga codes katulad ng calling cards, ATM cards, probably IDs, but it doesn't have let's say money value. For example, wala laman yung coin purse, so it doesn't return any value unless yung ATM card na nasabi ko kanina ay nagkakamal lang limpak-limpak na salapi, then it has a value already. It's not considered void. Excuse me. So, the word main though, this is a method called when a Java application begins. The second curly braces and open curly brace and close curly brace indicates the main block. So when we say main, we are actually indicating something that this is your main program. Parang ganito yun, guys. For example, you created a project. It may contain a lot of classes. Parang sa inyo, no? Meron tayong section 1, section 2, 3, and 4. Pero you might belong to one program, which is BS Computer Science or BS Information Technology. And then, you probably be on the same year, pwedeng first year, second year, third year, fourth year. However, kapag sinabi nating main, kung different classes yon, meron kayo dapat pagkakakilanlan na, I mean, if I am the compiler, I should know which is the main class among these classes. Parang pag ako, ang compiler, pag niran ko yung program mo, no, so it's actually an analogy na lang. If I will run your program, I know whom to call first. So, hindi ko pwedeng sabihin na lahat kayo, sige, mag-run kayo ng sabay-sabay. That's not good. So, ibig sabihin, I'm looking for a main class which I would be seeing first thing that I am going to run your program. So, if we are going to go back on the example, this word right here, inside the open and close curly brace, so whatever inside here is actually your main code. Ito yung una niyang babasahin. Which is why, kung hindi kayo gagawa ng main class nyo, for example, aksidente nyo nabura to, no? Aksidente nyo nabura yung class console na nandun pala yung main class mo. Your program is going to have an error right away. Pag-run nyo pa lang ng project nyo, hindi na siya magra-run kasi hinahanap niya si main program, wala siyang makita. So, yun yung una niyang tinitingnan. Kumbaga, if you already know the idea in creating web page, ito yung landing page or home page na tinatawag. So, let's continue though with the rest of the terminology. I think we have left something pa, two more keywords. So, ito yung string arguments. This word right here, args, is actually a shortcut term for arguments. Now, this keywords declares a parameter named arguments, which is an array of instances of the class. And then the system.out.println Okay, don't worry about this kasi magkakaroon pa naman tayo dito ng mga couple of discussion once we do program already. Okay, so the next is the system.out.println. It displays the string in the screen. Here, it displays my first Java program. So, let me go back to the program itself. Okay. Ito po, no? So, ito na yung line na tinutukoy natin. System.out.println. Inside this open parenthesis, close parenthesis, open quotation mark, close quotation mark is actually a set of strings that is going to be displayed on your screen when you run the program. So, ibig sabihin, the system.out.println is somehow you're actually accessing the system's screen to display this word. So, parang whatever we see on the screen, it's somehow like that, no? Kapag niran mo yung program, ito lang yung lalabas. My first Java program. So, whenever you actually access this or use this system.out.println, you are telling your computer that you are going to print something on the screen. And that is my first Java program. So yes, this part right here, you can actually write anything in here as long as it is inside the quotation marks. However, no, ito na yung mahalaga po dito sa ating discussion. All of this keywords that I am talking to you is actually something that Java is already reserving for a specific function. So, ibig sabihin, if you're going to create a class name, katulad ng kanina, console.java class console, ito itong word na to, console. No, you can use this as a project name, as a class name, as a variable. You can use that. Darating pa tayo din sa discussion na yon. Now, pero itong mga ito, class, Java, public, static, void, main, and so on, those are some terminologies that you cannot use anymore. Actually, there are so many. Marami pa po. So, in a while, malalaman nyo rin yun isa-isa kung ano yan. Kasi magkaka-error din naman yung program nyo kapag kayo ay gumamit ng reserved words kay Java. Tapos ginawa nyo siyang parang identifier nyo. Eventually, magkakaroon siya ng error. So, kung hindi nyo sa ulo pa yung mga keywords na yan. Now, enough of the basic terminologies that you need to be familiar of. The next step that we are actually going to do is to run the program. You can run the program in 3 ways. No, ibig sabihin, marami pong way. Number 1 option is to click like the play button under the menu. Ito po yung menu natin, file, edit, view, navigate, and so on. Under that, you'll see a button like this. That's one way of running the program. All you need to do is to click on it and then you run the project console. So you click on that, or the another way is to to click on F6. The F6 is actually the key on your keyboard. So not the letter F and then 6, but the F6 button on your keyboard. And then another option is actually to to navigate on the run menu and then you click on that if you don't know the shortcut key. Actually, 4 meron pang isa. Ito yung pang isa pa natin. Saan nga ba yun? Parang hindi ko yata na-i-paste pala dito, no? Pero, right here, balik tayo dito. Okay, hindi ko nakuha yung screenshot. So, if you are on if you are on the console folder, no? Ito, kita mo to sa left side, no? You right-click on it, and then makikita mo yung run na keyword, just select that. So, those are like different ways to run your Java program. So, whatever you are comfortable with, then bahala na kayo. Kahit ano doon pwede niyong gamitin. Now, once you are done, once you are done running your program, you can now see your output as shown in the figure here. Let's zoom it in. Okay, so ito na po yung pinaka-program natin. Now, this is only going to happen when there is no error on your program. Kung wala nang mali, then it's gonna be successful. It's gonna run the program and will show you the outcome. However, kung meron tayong mga typographical errors, logical errors sa tinatawag, this will not be shown anymore. Instead, you'll receive here like a couple of error messages, and that's for you to debug and check on your program so that you can correct whatever errors that you may have. So, magkakaroon naman tayo ng bukod na discussion doon. Kapag nagkaroon na tayo ng mga programming exercises, mas maganda kasi siya na doon natin i-discuss. Why? Kasi talaga namang typical na at first, you will be able to have a lot of errors. Siguro kung ikaw ay marami ng practice in programming and you are very keen on the detail that I am showing you on screen, and then perhaps you have like a higher chance for you not to get error messages. But, as beginners, I understand. Kasi kahit kami na maalam namang mag-program, sometimes yung mga small details like semicolon at the end of the program, nakakalimutang ilagay like this, no? So, any code that you're gonna add here inside should end in a semicolon. So this indicates that you are done on this line and that you are ready to make another line of codes for your program. So that's actually it for this part, no? If you have questions, please do not hesitate to type it in on our comment section, or you can just simply raise your hand para naman tayo ay magkaroon ng konting discussion regarding the topics that we are actually discussing. Now, please note that if you cannot see the output window, kasi diba, nirun na natin yung program, pero hindi mo makita yung output mo, walang nakalagay whatsoever, you can go to the window menu and then navigate to output. Or meron siyang tinatawag na control key, control 4. So on your keyboard, you will click the control button, then 4 for the output window to show up. So, ito po yung output window natin. Baka hindi agad napansin, ano? Ito po yung output window. So, bukod siya ng window kasi it's intended for the output alone. And then, this part right here are for your inputs. So, dito natin ilalagay lahat ng statements natin, ng codes, and so on. Okay? So, let's now talk about the different identifiers that you can use in Java. We're actually done, no? I'm actually done showing you like the step-by-step process on how to use NetBeans. So guys, if in case that you don't really have the laptop or computer, again and again, for those who were not able to attend po nung ating first orientation, I am allowing you to use any software that you can use para po makasabay kayo sa programming. So, next po natin na pag-uusapan are the identifiers. For the identifiers, these are names given to a variable, class, or method. You can use letters, katulad nung nabanggit ko kanina, if you still remember it. You can use letters, digits, dollar signs, and underscores in an identifier. But the first character must be a letter, an underscore, or a dollar sign. And it actually have no maximum length. Ibig sabihin, kahit gaano kahaba yan. If you know the cartoons Mojako, when I was younger, siguro hindi na nga kasi lumang cartoons na yon. Napakahaba. You can, there's no limit. The only advisable tip here that I'm gonna give you is to make it short and simple, and it should have a meaning at least. No, like use an identifier that has something to do with what you're doing. Hindi basta lang yun ang binigay mong pangalan kasi gusto mo. Kung minsan, hindi lahat ng gusto nakukuha. Pero yeah, kidding aside, ayun po. Use an identifier with like a meaning to it. Para naman pagka binalikan mo yung program mo, yung part ng program na yon, na variable na yon, you actually know or will have an idea para saan ba siya. And even other people can actually better understand what you're trying to do. Okay. I'll show you guys, the next slide will be showing you like a couple of keywords na ginagamit na ng Java. So, hindi na po muna natin i-discuss isa-isa ito. But I'm just gonna show you this dahil since we are talking about like an identifiers, I need you to be very familiar with the words para maiwasan na po nating magamit itong mga keywords na to, no? Like abstract, continue, for, new, switch, assert, default, go to, package, synchronize, boolean, do, if, private, this, break, double, implements, protected, throw, byte, else, import, public, throws, case, enum, instance of, return, transient, catch, extends, int, short, try, char, final, interface, static, void, class, finally, long, strict fp, volatile, const, float, native, supa, and while. So these are, additional Java keywords. Actually, meron pa, mahaba-haba pa, pero siguro naman from this list of Java keywords, magkakaroon na tayo ng mga iba pang idea na meron namang ibang words na pwedeng gamitin for identifiers. Now, again, these keywords cannot be used as your variable names because if we do so, we are actually trying to assign a new meaning to that keyword, which is not allowed by the Java compiler. So, all in all, I don't know if there is an update to this pa, but the last time I know, Java has 50, to be exact, 50 keywords. And in addition to those keywords, Java reserves the following words pa rin. It's not there, pero yung true, false, and null, yung null, null, are actually values defined by Java. So, you may not use those words also for the names of your variables, classes, and so on. Again, true, false, and null, hindi rin siya pwedeng gamitin as identifiers. No? So now, we are familiar already with different Java keywords. Let's talk about Java comments. Kaya a while ago, medyo napahapyawan na po natin yung Java comments natin. So again, it's being ignored by the Java compiler. Well, again, comments can be used to explain Java code and to make it more readable, katulad ng nabanggit ko na kanina. It can also be used to prevent execution when testing alternative codes. So, meaning, for example, kung nagtatest ka na ng program na ginawa mo, kung tama ba siya o hindi, you may want to check a specific line if it's working correctly or not, if it's providing correct solutions or not. Then, pwede mong gamitin yung comments, paglalagay ng comments doon sa line na yon para mailagay mo doon, ano ba yung naging assessment mo, observation mo nung niran mo yung program. Tama ba yung line of code? So, pwede mo yung i-add doon para the next time that you actually do something about it, is kaya maaalala mong balikan kung ano yung ginawa mo. So, in this example, if you notice, there are two forward slashes. This is also a comment. Iba pa to dun sa kanuna na ipinakita ko sa inyo, yung slash asterisk, comment din yun. Pero this one is actually a single line comment. What is a single line comment? These comments start with 2 forward slashes. So any text after, not actually between, any text after the 2 forward slashes, basta they are on the same line, parang ito, kunwari, same line lang siya, yung isang haba na yan. And then, if you added 2 forward slashes in front, or pwedeng sa gitna, after the symbol, lahat ng words na ilalagay mo dyan hanggang sa dulo will be considered comments. So, again, those texts will be just ignored by Java. Hindi siya i-execute kapag niran mo na yung program. It has no bearing at all. So, katulad ditong snippet natin dito, yung example, no? Sa taas, merong 2 forward slashes. So, this line will be considered as comment. Now, on this third line, dito yung second line natin, third line, etong unang to is not considered a comment kasi wala naman siyang forward slash sa umpisa. But after the semicolon, meron tayong 2 forward slashes. The words after that will be considered comments already. Okay? So, yun naman kanina na-discuss na natin kasi meron tayong 2 types of comments, single and multiple or multi-line. Ito na yung kanina. So, meron siyang opening and closing tags, no? Ito yung ating forwards slash asterisk. Ito yung opening and then yung closing. Now, whatever text inside those symbols will be considered comments. Ibig sabihin, ma'am, kung naglagay po ako magmula dito sa line 1 hanggang sa line 2 ng comments, kasi nandun po siya sa loob ng mga symbol na yon, they are just comments. Yes. In fact, kung itong what do you call this? Asterisk and forward slash ay inilagay mo right here after ng semicolon, then that would mean even the system.out.print line, which is supposed to do something, which is actually to display the hello world on your screen, will be just a comment only. So, dahil nasa loob siya ng asterisk slash. So, again, kapag multi-line comments, any text between the slash asterisk will be ignored by Java. So, pretty much na-discuss naman natin na siguro ng ayos, no, kung para saan ang mga comments. And I would appreciate you guys if you were going to practice yourselves using comments that will actually help you as the programmer and other programmers to read your programs easily. So, yun po. Siguro, actually, ilalagay ko yun sa isa sa mga criteria ko when you're grading your future activities when we are doing programming. So, titingnan ko kung kayo ba yung naglalagay ng mga comments as a guide for me to better understand your codes. Okay, let's move forward to Java data types. So, these are important as well when creating programs in Java. Dapat alam natin what do we mean by data types. Now, from the word itself, no, ang data types po ay klase, Tagalogin natin, no, klase ng data na gusto mong save. Parang ganito kasi yan, guys, no. When creating programs, there are certain scenarios wherein you need to create a container of a data. Parang to make an analogy, tayo may mga bags tayo, may mga wallet, may mga coin purse tayo, may mga boxes tayo. Ano pa ba? Ano pang analogy? Meron tayong mga timba, meron tayong pinggan na ginagamit natin sa bahay, right? So, before we proceed to the data types, etong mga timba na to, box na to, bag na to, wallet na to, ito yung tinatawag nating variables in Java. Bakit po, ma'am? Ano naman po yung variables? Yung variables, yun yung kinikreate mo na lalagyan para sa data mo. No, ito from this context. Para sa data mo, sila yung ginagawa mong lalagyan para meron kang lalagyan ng data. Now, ano naman yung data types? Ano bang klase ng data yung gusto mong ilagay doon sa iyong ginawang container? So, for example, in a normal life, may gumawa ng pinggan ng mga tao para lagyan ng pagkain. So, ang data type ng pinggan ay food. Gumawa ng baso para lagyan ng tubig. So, ang data type ng baso ay water. So, parang in the case of Java, ganun din naman, no? Parang naging lang siya, very technical. Kasi nagkaroon siya ng term na variable, nagkaroon siya ng term na data types. Now, in Java, there are actually two types of datas. Now, hindi lang actually ito in Java, even in other programming, ganito rin. No, sometimes iba lang yung syntax, pero, halos ganun din kung paano siya gamitin. So, meron tayong tinatawag na primitive data types and the non-primitive data types. So, ano-ano po yung mga primitive data types, ma'am? Meron tayong byte, short, integer, long, float, double, boolean, and char or char. So, ang char po is a short term for character. Ang int naman ay short term for integer. So, mamaya pag-uusapan pa natin ano-ano yung mga yan. So, mas maganda kung nandun na tayo sa part ng pagpo-program para mas maintindihan po natin kung paano siya ginagamit. And then, we also have non-primitive data types. So, nandun naman yung string, arrays, and classes. Okay. Sa primitive data types, this actually, specifies the size and type of variable values, and it has no additional methods. There are 8 primitive data types in Java. Ano ba yon? Sa logical, gumagamit po tayo ng boolean. Again, we have another set of discussion for this, no? Textual, gumagamit tayo ng character. Now, ang character can only handle one character. Parang ganito yan. Letter A, letter B, letter C. One character siya. Each characters. So, ang character data type ay kaya lang mag-handle ng isang character. Si Boolean naman, true or false or 0, 1 lang ang kanyang nire-return. And then, ang integral naman natin, pwede tayong gumamit ng byte, short, int, and long, floating, double, float. So, ano ba yung pinagkakaiba-iba nila at example po nila, ma'am? So, punta na tayo sa examples, no? Alright. Now, yung byte po natin, ang size po nun ay 1 byte. It stores whole numbers from negative 128 to positive 127. Kapag short naman, it can store whole numbers from negative 32,768 to positive 32,767. So, if you'll take a look in it, yung mga dineclare mong container, again, variable yung term nun sa Java, yung mga dineclare mong variable, pag nag-assign ka ng data type nun, meron lang siyang kayang i-handle na data. Parang katulad nito, or let's make another analogy, no? For example, meron kang coin purse. Alam mo naman siguro kung ano yung coin purse, no? O kaya sabihin natin na, eto yung coin purse ko. Wala ka ng coin purse ko. Actually, it's a make-up purse. For example lang, no? It's a coin purse. It only holds a specific numbers of items inside. Hindi mo siya pwedeng higitan pa doon. Parang katulad dito, meron lang siyang limit up to how much it can take. So, ganun po ang idea ng data type. Kaya, yung paggamit mo ng data type, kapag nag-create ka ng variable, depends on what are the kind of data that you are expecting to be stored inside your variable. For example, kung malaki na yung data na ina-expect mong i-save mo dyan, and then use a more acceptable or much better pala, a much better data type for your variable. Kung mas malaki na yung nilagyan, edi probably you need like a bag, di ba? Kung malaki na yung ilalagay mo, bag na yung kailangan mo dyan. So, ganun din ang idea in assigning data types for your variable. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, di ko naman to sa ulo talaga, by heart, no, itong mga numbers na to, up to how much these data types can handle. But the idea here is that this byte, short, integer, and long can hold whole numbers, positive and negative values. Yun ang mahalaga doon na dapat yung maalala. It can hold negative and positive whole numbers. Pag float po, it can store fractional numbers and those numbers with digits. Okay? Yun naman pong ating double can also store fractional numbers. So, meaning to say, kung etong mga nandito can handle whole numbers, this one can handle fractional or numbers with decimal places. Now, for Boolean, nabanggit ko na to kanina, it can handle or return true or false values. For character, it can store a single character or letter, which I already mentioned a while ago. So now, I think we are actually clear about primitive data types. Now, there is something that I did not add on the example of data types. No, I just want to go back here. Etong non-primitive data types, which are actually string, arrays, and classes. So, magkakaroon po tayo ng additional discussion dito, but to give you an overview, string can handle multiple characters. Dito, no, kung yung char can only hold one letter, ang string can hold multiple letters and characters. So, hindi lang basta letter, pwede siyang mag-store ng number, pwede siyang mag-store ng special characters, even a space between text can also be handled by a string. So, meaning, whatever items you have, string can handle that. Yung array naman po natin, kakaroon pa rin tayo ng other discussion dito. Siguro for the time being, not to make anything complicated, medyo iwan muna natin tong dalawa, no? Yung array and classes. And again, we are going to get through with this once we progress on the lesson. Alright, so we're done with the primitive or different data types, primitive and non-primitive. Let's talk about more about variables. So, ito na yung kaninang pahapyaw na binanggit ko sa inyo. Variables are containers for storing data values. So, yung data values na tinatawag natin, ito yung mga nilalagay natin sa ating container na kinreate. In Java, there are different types of variables. So, let me read it for you. Meron tayong string that can store text such as hello. String values are surrounded by double quotation mark. So, yung katulad nito, na example po natin, double quotation mark. Inside that are actually set of strings. So, meron din po tayong integer variables that can store whole numbers. Again, without the decimal place, whole numbers lang po. Sa float naman, it can store floating point numbers with decimal places. Sa character, can store letters such as A or B and so on. And then Boolean, which stores true or false. Now, how do we actually create a variable? Kanina, kung pinag-aralan natin kung ano yung mga data types na pwede natin i-store sa variable. This time, let us learn how to create variables and assign a data type to it. So, what's the syntax in declaring or creating variables? So, ito po yung pinaka-syntax natin. Type, or yung data type, then the variable name is equals to the value of the variable, semicolon. So, to make a program snippet of that, for example po, mag-assign tayo ng string. Ito yung data type natin. Yung name is our variable name. And then, equals to John. So, ibig sabihin, yung John na pangalan ay ini-store natin sa atin pong name na variable at ina-assign natin, una nating inassign na ang magiging content ng name variable ay string. So, ibig sabihin, pwedeng may letter, pwedeng may numbers, and so on. And then, papaprint natin sa screen yung nilagay po natin na value ng name. On this case, since tinawag po natin system.out.println or print line, inside the parameters is the name of your string. So again, guys, I don't think I was able to mention this a while ago. Ang Java po is actually a case-sensitive programming language. When we say case-sensitive, no, it treats small letter is different from the capital letter. Ano po yan, ma'am? For example, itong small letter N, A, M, E, kapag ginawa po natin siya as our string name, and then we call it inside the program later on, it should follow the same casing. Kung small letters lahat, dapat small letters lahat. Kapag napalitan ng capital letter ito, tinawag mo pa rin siya dito as a small letter N, your Java compiler will be confused and will not be able to understand what you are trying to say. Bakit po, ma'am? Kasi nga, magkaiba yung small letter at capital letter kay Java. So that is why, etong mga keywords natin, we must follow or type it as it is. Kung capital letter S ang string, then use it as it is. Kung capital letter S ang system, use it as it is. Small letter ang out, small letter ang print line, then use it as it is. Ganun kasimple. Kaya sensitive, pero madali namang intindihan. Okay, again, kasi minsan yun ang nagiging common problems din ng mga programmers na bago pa lang eh. So, nagkakaroon ng confusion pagdating sa paggamit ng variable. No. So, next po natin ay example ng iba pang creation of Java variable. So, ito kasi string. Paano naman po pag mga integers yung gagamitin namin, mga numbers? So, ito, let's say ito yung example natin. No? Create a variable that should store a number. Ibig sabihin, mag-create daw po ng variable na makakapag-save or makakapag-store ng number. So, dito sa problem natin, create a variable called mynum of type integer and assign it the value 15. So, simple problems like this should be understood by the programmer rather. You know, ma'am, simple lang naman yan kasi madali naman pong intindihan. Now, it's very important that we will be able to understand what is the problem trying to tell us. Kasi kapag nagkaroon tayo ng, for example, mga big projects and the clients want us to do something, we should be able to understand what they are trying to tell us. Gusto nila ganitong gawin sa project, ganito yung dapat maging context ng project, then you should be able to follow that as long as you agreed with it, no? And this example, ito, simple problem na ibinigay, for example, sa atin ni client. Gumawa daw tayo ng variable na makakapag-save ng integer value. So, ibig sabihin, dahil integer to, it's a whole number, then yung whole number na yon is 15. So, how do we do that in program? We use the int keyword space mynum is equals to 15. So, ito yung value natin, 15. Ang pangalan ng variable natin ay mynum, which is here, and the data type int is actually here. So, ganun kasimple. Again, ang syntax to be followed, data type, variable name, variable value. Okay? So, yun po yung susundin nating sequence. And then, this line is just something optional. Gusto mong ipa-print out sa screen ni user as an output. Then, eto na po yung ating gagamitin. Okay. So, ito yung tatawagin natin. Rather, yung mynum na variable. Ma'am, bakit po mynum yung tinawag natin? Para naman, flexible yung ating container. So, if we change something in here, wala na tayong babaguhin sa program. Ano ibig sabihin nun, ma'am? If for example, gamit tayo ng online Java compiler para mas madali nating makita yung outcome. Okay, let's say, assigning, ano nga bang pangalan ng lesson natin? Declaring variables. For example, ito yung variables. Okay, tama na yung spelling. For example, ito yung pangalan ng class natin. Gawa tayo ng simple program, no? In this case, makikreate ako ng integer. Ang pangalan ay num1. Inassign ko siya ng 30. Okay? Tapos, dito sa output ko, tatawagin ko si num1. So, system.out.println, and then, alisin natin tong nasa loob. Dahil integer naman yung tinatawag ko, ito-type ko lang yung variable name ko. Ito yon. Ito rin yon. So, when I run the program, I'm expecting that this is going to be shown on my output. So, run po natin yung program natin, no? Hold on, adjust natin yung screen. Yan. So, what's gonna be the output of your program? Okay, let's take a look. No, okay, adjust ang screen. Alright. The output is this, 30. So, one good thing about object-oriented and Java programming is that the code is reusable. In the future, if you wanted to change the value of num1, let's say naging 100 na yung value niya, all you need to do is to change the value. Nothing should be changed on the body of code. Just rerun your program and then wait for it. Voila! The output is 100. Wala tayong binago sa code, kundi yung value lang po ng ating variable. And then, simple. Diba? So, the code is actually reusable. Now, this is just a plain example. Magkakaroon pa naman tayo guys ng mga additional example in making more complex programs. So, the next thing that we will be discussing so far is how to create variables, like using, to overwrite the previous value that you add on your you add on your variable. Pwede ba yun, ma'am? Parang kunwari, meron ka dong part na initially, dineclare mo siya as 10, pero on the latter part of your program, gusto mo na siyang palitan as 20. So, pero, you don't want to go back from the very beginning of your program, right? So, you don't really have to do that if that is not the purpose of you changing the value of your variable. So, what you can do instead is, for example, if the value of your mynum is 15, kanina yun yung example natin, if you will be changing it to 20 in the middle of your program, you can simply type in mynum equals to 20. Ibig sabihin, if you do that, you are overwriting the old value of your variable to 20 already. Okay? Siguro ganun lang naman talaga siya actually kasimple. Now, if you really don't want the variable to be changed at all, ibig sabihin gusto mo yun na talaga siya, kahit anong gawin ko sa ilalim ng pagbabago ng value, magkamali man ako or hindi, dahil gusto ko fix na itong 15 na to, you include the word final. Again, if you want to have a fixed value of your variable, include the word final. Para kahit na mag-create ka dito ng ganito, mag-generate lang siya ng error na you're actually trying to change the value rather of the mynum variable to something else when the mynum variable is already final. So, ma'am, saan ko po siya ilalagay? Before the data type. Okay? So, kung ito lang siya kanina, int my name is equals to 15, then you include the final keyword before the int my name. Okay po? Sorry. So, these are just like a demonstration of how to create variables using other data types. So, na-experience na po natin gumamit ng integer, na-experience na po natin gumamit ng float, na string rather. Ang float naman, ito, kasama na yung mga fractional parts, no? And then decimal also, kasama na. Sa char naman, ito, isang letter lang talaga, isang character lang. At dapat nasa loob siya ng single quotation mark. So, beyond that, magkaka-error na yung program natin. No, kasi character lang yung ine-expect yung i-handle. And then you added a lot of characters there. So, it's gonna generate an error. So, meron po tayong boolean. Ang pangalan nun is myBool is equals to true or false, then string. Inside the quotation mark are strings or couple of strings. Now, guys, this is very important. Just like what I have mentioned to you in creating or using identifiers like class name, project name, it is advisable for you to just use one word, or this is actually a combination of multiple words, no? My is one term, float is one term, num is one term. However, since it's being put together, wala siyang space at all, no? Naging isang salita po ito. So, meaning, part of naming convention talaga na dapat nyo laging tatandaan ay magkikreate kayo ng variable, dapat po walang spaces. Kung marami kang words na ginamit, pag dikit-dikitin nyo, use like a combination of small and big letters or capital letters for the users or for yourself to better understand and read the variable name. So, katulad nitong mga example natin. And so far, no, please avoid using like words or just a letter to create variable. Parang for example, x is equals to 5, y is equals to 10. Pero yung sumunod, yung x ginamit mo, x is equals to hello world, y is equals to true or false. So, parang it doesn't really make sense at all. Pag binasa yan ng programmer, ibang programmer, hindi ikaw, ano ba tong x na to? Babasahin ko pa yung buong code para lang maintindihan ko ano ba yung x. Kung siya ba yung nang iwan sa'yo, no? O hindi. So, I mean, again, please use keywords that are actually has something to do with what you're trying to save inside it. Katulad nito, dahil may float namin, inintindi natin na float numbers yung isi-save niya. Ito, my letter, so yun ang isi-save niya. So, my heart is equals to you, yun ang isi-save niya. So, but again, yun lang naman ang example talaga ng mga naming conventions na mas magandang gamitin. Tulad nito, no, it's this a number, pero gumamit tayo ng my num as its variable name to make it better. Alright. So, ayun po yung ating Java variables. So, the next thing that we're gonna do is actually to stop right here. Ang susunod po natin kasi is actually typecasting already. Pag-discuss po natin on, I wanna make sure that you are able to understand this part bago tayo pumunta doon sa mas mga kaabang-abang pang lessons. Now, magkakaroon po tayo ng activity after this video.